When I first started building things that went fast, I realized they were really dangerous. So that's why I decided to build a three-wheeler. So right out in front of us, you may have noticed we've got a 1985 Tri-Z250 exploded into a million pieces. We've got just about every single piece here to build this entire thing, even down to the wire harness. There's probably a few odds and ends that I didn't put out in the driveway, but for the most part, we are 100% here. Now we're gonna take a close look at all these parts in a second here, but before we do that, if you haven't seen this series from the start, you gotta see what it looked like when we first got it, man. It was in rough condition. It actually looked okay, but it was really messed up. And this is actually a collection of 3 different machines that we've put together to make one nice one. Now let's take a closer look. Now getting everything laid out onto the driveway like this takes a lot of time and effort. About an hour and a half in this case to be exact. So if you enjoy these finale videos, make sure to give me a thumbs up and also consider subscribing. That helps me out a ton. Anyways, back to the parts. We've got our brand new pre-owned 250cc engine. This is a sweet ass engine. You guys can see the engine build video in another video if you want to check that out. We've got it ported and everything. That should run really, really good. Try to keep it looking like sort of stock. It's supposed to be like a resto mod theme. We've got yellow radiator hoses over here. That is I think that goes under the airbox. I don't know what the hell it is. We've got our fuel pump, our carburetor. We've got our brand new fenders all the way around. Got our graphics right here. I was originally going to do OEM graphics, but I decided to kind of make like a retro style theme. I think it looks pretty cool. I can't wait to see what it looks like on there. Then we've got the original Tri-Z stickers. They're gonna go right there on the back fenders. Over here, we've got our Tusk axle. We've got our Armosi 720 SPC bar clamps. Our high-rise Tusk they're chub bars, I think they're called. Yeah, there it is, chub. And then we've got the Armosi thumb throttle right there. I love those. Torque One racing grips. They're my favorite grips of all time at this point. All this stuff is gonna make this three-wheeler ride really nice and smooth. This is an awesome grab bar. It's a drop grab bar by Wicked Metal Designs. You can see it says YTZ on there for the YTZ 250. Also by Wicked Metal Designs, we've got these triple row pegs. These are super aggressive, so we don't fall off of this damn thing. We're gonna need it. We've got our CRF 150R front forks, which are a huge upgrade over stock. Had them rebuilt by Rocket Ron. We've got the fork guards right there. And these are sick, man. These are the super beefy triple tree clamps. They're made by BBC. I don't know if you guys will be able to see the BBC on there. I had them Cerakoted in a gunmetal color by Bonehead Performance. We've got our brake calipers, all vapor blasted and rebuilt. Our radiator guards, radiators, rear shock, rebuilt by Rocket Ron, custom colored to match the build. We've got our custom front hub from BBC Racing to upgrade everything. We've got some Banshee hubs to upgrade from the Tri-Z hubs. That makes it just so that we've got more fitment for wheels, more options. This is our under tank cover, our gas tank, all restored. Everything looks like brand new. Our swing arm in a kind of bronze gold color. New seat cover on our seat, and boom, check this out, man. Would you have ever thought that under that junky spray paint and stuff, this was underneath? The top portion is all the original plastic. I'm getting pretty good at restoring. It was a huge job, and I didn't make a video on it, and I didn't do it before and after, and I'm really kind of pissed about it because this was a shitload of work. I just kind of worked on this little by little each night, and it looks freaking awesome. So the bottom is painted. From the factory, Yamaha paints the black portion, but it really looks awesome, man. I'm so happy because that's a discontinued piece. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do about that. And believe it or not, I bet you I could get like $800 to $1,000 for that in the condition that it's in. Just really awesome. These are the LEDs that are going in there. That's fine, don't worry about that. We got these tires, dude. Check out the gold wheels. So instead of getting them anodized, I decided to have them powder coated. It's a little bit more of a durable finish than anodizing, and it looks pretty damn good. I didn't want them to pop too much because I don't want the wheels to be the focal point of this build, but it's hard to deny, man. They do pop. They look really good, and I think they're gonna look awesome with the Maverick yellow frame. It really is gonna be freaking sweet. We've even got custom yellow stainless steel braided brake lines. This thing it's really just gonna be awesome when it all comes together. I don't know about you guys, but looking at all these parts makes me wanna start building. Let's get this stuff inside. You know, I really couldn't help but notice that once again, you guys didn't show up for all the work of setting up and getting everything ready. It's fine, it's fine. You know, I'll do everything. But if your wife or girlfriend ever says it's fine, it's probably not fine. All right, now the first thing I want to do is get the engine in here. This is the first three-wheeler I've ever built, but I like to usually put the engine in first because that will kind of like anchor down this whole thing. It gives a little bit of weight. Otherwise, the whole stand and everything wants to move around. Plus, it gives you a sense of accomplishment because this is a big project and sometimes you can be doing all this little stuff and it seems like it's taking forever. So we're gonna set this thing up. We're gonna get our stand to about waist height or wherever it's comfortable that you're gonna, you know, chuck the engine in there. So I feel like Right about here is pretty good. And you may have noticed I've got all of the bolts and motor mounts in place. For the most part, anyways, I think I have just about all of them. But I have everything hanging so that I don't have to go looking around wondering where each and every little bolt goes, because every single bolt on this build was re-zinc coated by Motoblast. So it's mostly the original hardware. Anything that was missing, I had to replace. But this just makes putting things together a breeze because I already know where everything's gonna go. So we're just gonna get this stuff out of the way so we can put our engine in. All right, now I'll throw a towel in here. This is just so that when we drop the engine in place, you know, it can kind of be like clanking around. It's kind of heavy and it can be a little klutzy getting it in there. So this will just help us from chipping up our powder coat. We'll get the engine in there and then we can yank the towel out. All right, let's see how we do here. This shouldn't be too bad. It's a 250, it's not that heavy. Not bad. Now this swing arm bolt will of course have to come back out to get the swing arm in there, but this will make it a little bit easier to hang the rest of the bolts and make sure everything is lined up. There we go, bastard. Now with that swing arm bolt in there, I can pivot the engine up so we can yank our towel out. Oh, just barely. Uh-oh, we're ripping it. You can see we're hitting back here. It's not letting us lift this up much more. Ah, come on, you bastard. Bastard. Well, I guess on this one, we can't have the swing arm bolt in there. All right, can we get this thing out? Jesus. 250 engine is easy, they said. What the Now it's stuck. Man, this is not a good start. Not a good start. Instead, we will try to pivot on these front motor mounts. I put a little bit of blue Loctite on pretty much all of my bolts throughout this project because, well, two-stroke. And for stuff like the motor mount bolts, I do like to put a little bit of anti-seize on these. Just makes it easier for when it's time to come out. All right. A lot of these bolts were just straight up missing when we tore this thing down. It was a lot of stuff I didn't even notice because I'm not familiar with these TRIKES. And then as I started tearing it down, man, I was noticing, I think that front engine mount was missing. There's a motor mount underneath that was missing. There was just a bunch of bolts missing on the entire machine. But anyways, now that we have the front motor mount in, we should be able to tilt the engine forward and lift it up a little bit higher. And now we can get this towel out. That's pretty much normal though. Like usually things don't just fall together. Let's get these other motor mounts in place. And we've got this long bolt that goes underneath the engine. I had to special order this bolt online because it's a discontinued part, so I had to get like a custom length to make it fit in there. I'm already finding some stuff that I missed. If you look at this motor mount, the thickness of the frame and then the cylinder head, if we tighten this up, there's a gap down here. So we could probably just like send that home and probably bend the motor mount, and that's probably what they did the last time. But I looked at the schematic, and believe it or not, it calls for washers in here, which is interesting because it's just kind of a weird design. That does tell me though that, you know, because so many of the components on this are shared with the YZ250, they probably just threw stuff from that on here instead of making stuff specifically for the Tri-Z. So I have the correct washers that go in here. And now that's much better alignment. I have a feeling that we're gonna be using schematics a lot for this build because there's just a lot of strangeisms on this machine. We're gonna try to get the swing arm in here because this is gonna be a huge victory. Usually I don't enjoy putting the swing arm in place because it just never wants to fit easily, but sometimes it does. So we're gonna put some anti-seize on our swing arm bolt. Even though we do have grease zerks on our swing arm, it's just not a bad idea. Get this just started over here, but not actually in. And we'll see if we can get our swing arm in without any problems. Probably not though. Got all new bearings and bushings in here. This was a bit of a challenge on the swing arm because I think somebody custom fit these tubes up here. They were probably wallowed out at some point. Oh dude, this doesn't even want to go in between the frame. We may have to open up the frame just a little bit. I wish that just for once, one of these damn swing arms would just drop into place. This isn't that uncommon though. Now come on, you bastard. Oh, it's so close. You stubborn bastard. Come on, do you really want to be that guy? Bastard. All right, I'm gonna try something new here because I hate swing arms so much. It'd be cool to come up with a technique because it's so damn close and I probably could muscle it in there, but why work harder when you can work smarter? This could also be very stupid. Let's see if we can make the tools do the work for us instead of busting our balls. Come on now, you bastard. It's like right there. Is it the powder coating holding it up? Man, this is just gonna fight me the whole way. We're in between the frame, but the part where we're straddling the engine, you can see in here, it's like there. It probably, if I really wailed on it, I could send it home, but I don't want to like crack the frame or something. It's too tight, it's not right. So I have to pull these little collars out and just shave a little bit off of that, probably like a 1/2 millimeter, and it should go in then. Out of curiosity, I pulled the old spacer out and you can see the new one really is just a slight bit longer. So I'll shave that down so that it's just like the old one. I'll probably do both sides and then we shouldn't have a problem. All right, man, this is it. If this doesn't work this time, I'm pushing this thing out to the curb and it's gonna be for free because it's just never gonna fit. Come on, bitch. There it goes, it's going. Oh, jeez. Oh, it's a little too far. Man, I honestly thought that was never gonna get in there. What a pain in the ass. Now you know why I hate doing swing arms. Pretty much normal procedure for installing a swing arm, I would say. You know, pretty typical that you have to machine the spacers, alter the frame, use spreaders, and just really have a huge pain in the ass of an experience. But anyways, it's on there. I did sneak our linkage on there and our rear shock, and man, it looks freaking awesome. The colors are starting to come together. When I posted pictures of this engine, people were like, ugh, that red intake boot looks like garbage. And I honestly agree, I really do. But I've got vision, guys, and the reason was, you see now with this red shock on here, there's gonna be little red accents, and it's all going to come together. Like if you come over to the seat, we've got a little bit of red in the seat right there. There's some red in the graphics, and over here, I have, there's some red anodized stuff like in the levers. So I think when all of that stuff is on there, those little red accents will look good. I could only get this in red or blue. They didn't even have a black one, but I did think that the red will look cool when it's all together, man. Now I have a feeling that we're gonna be dealing with the balancing act with this thing, especially because we're gonna have an axle in the back, a carrier, 2 huge wheels, bead locks, no less, all heavy stuff. And in the front, we're just gonna have the one wheel and the fork. So because of that, I wanna get the foot pegs in place and we can actually lock this down to our stand. And that's just gonna give us a little bit more hope in not having this damn thing fall off the stand, because I've actually had a quad fall off one of these stands before and it wasn't like catastrophic, but I would just like for that not to happen. For the foot peg bolts, I'm gonna use a little bit of this red thread locker. This Amazon thread locker is not as strong as like a name brand, and I really like it because it's a little bit stronger than your traditional blue, but it's not so strong that the damn thing won't come out. I think for foot pegs, they are perfect. You really gotta be careful handling these pegs, man. These things are super sharp. Awesome pegs, man. You can get these from Wicked Metal Design. I'm hoping that these don't strip out, because apparently on the Tri-Z, the foot peg bolts are a common bolt that do strip out. They don't really have that much meat in there. They actually, Wicked Metal Designs actually makes a kit If you do strip them out, you can weld a new plate on here, and it's got reinforced threads. I don't think we'll have that issue though, because like I said, my threads look to be in really good shape. I'm gonna tighten these up to 22 foot-pounds. And now with the pegs on there, we've got these stays that can go in place. And then we'll spin this down both sides. And then this way, it'll be a little bit more stable. That's one thing I really like about this Tusk scissor stand. I've said in other videos, it's made for 300 pounds. For this three-wheeler, damn dude, these pegs are super sharp. This three-wheeler though is probably perfect because I think this probably weighs, it'll probably weigh around like 320, 330 pounds. But these stands are made for 300 pounds, awesome for dirt bikes. I have mine modified to do like unlimited weight, but it's just really nice that you can hold it down like that. And it's a little bit more stable. Of course, like the whole stand could fall over, but it's definitely better than not having them. I do think it's a good idea though, even though with it tied to the frame, to kind of try to balance this thing out. So let's put our triple tree clamps in and our forks. These have upgraded spherical bearings, or tapered bearings rather. From the factory, they just had regular ball bearings in here, at least on the top. So they have an upgrade kit for that. I've already packed my bearings, but I'm just gonna put a little bit of grease in here. This BVC triple tree clamp is gonna be freaking awesome, dude. It's so much bigger and beefier than the standard unit. And if you do wanna get one of these kits from BVC, they do make them for other models like ATCs, like the Hondas and stuff like that. And if I had to put my OEM steering stem from the other triple tree in there, and you do need a press to do that, but it's okay if you don't have a press. BVC will press the new one in for you if you don't have the ability to do that. Now this ring nut, the manual calls for 32 foot-pounds of torque. I don't have an attachment for this ring nut wrench, so I'm just gonna do it by hand. They want you to do 32 foot-pounds of torque, and then you back it off a quarter turn at a time until you have good free play. So I've got decent feel. I'm just gonna tighten this by hand until we're at about 32 foot-pounds of torque. It'll be exactly 32 foot-pounds of torque, come on. And then we'll back it off. That should be it right about there. It's smooth, it's a little bit snug. We'll just back it off a tiny bit. That feels pretty good. I like that. And we'll throw the top portion of our triple tree in place. And this will get tightened down to 61 foot-pounds, but I'm not gonna tighten this until we have the forks in place. I have to put a wedge in here, open this up just a little bit. I think we'll throw our front wheel in place too. The BVC kit comes with spacers, front hub, a disc converter so you can run the CRF 150R brakes. It also comes with this axle. Check this thing out, dude. Does that look sweet or what? Got it engraved, BVC. Freaking awesome. I throw a little bit of anti-seize on this. And the tire that I chose for the front is a Maxxis 22. You're a you asshole. Bitch. Oh, now we get all dirty with the grease, right? Bitch. See, that was easy. Man, I'm getting motorcycle vibes here. This thing is really starting to look cool. Before we take a step back and look at it, let's drop this down and get our handlebars set up on. I want to add as much weight to the front as we can right now. Now for our clamp setup, I'm going to go with my tried and true favorite setup of all time, the Hermosi SPC 720. The SPC stands for soft bar clamp. They have these shock absorbing systems. It's like a rubber compound that's literally freaking indestructible. And I've been putting these things on everything since I tried them, and I've got a lot of seat time with them. They totally save your forearms and elbows. I love these things. So before we even get started, we've got a lot of stainless steel hardware here. So I've just gone around and I'm putting anti-seize on everything. So this clamp system wasn't designed for three-wheelers, but it's basically universal, so I think I can make it fit no problem. One thing off the bat I did notice though is that the hardware, this main bolt in specific, needs to be a little bit shorter. So I have a custom, or just to put a different bolt in there. And then if you look inside here, you can see there's two different mounting holes. It's kind of like, almost shaped like an 8. And that allows you to run either in the front hole or the back hole. And that lets you adjust, it gives you a little bit of adjustability for putting your clamps forward or backward. I'm gonna put them forward a little bit because we're gonna be hanging on for dear life with this thing. And I think we wanna have as much weight as far forward as we possibly can. Put our little spacer cone in there. So they're solid aluminum instead of like a rubber damper that would go in there, because the clamp itself is gonna do all of the damping. We don't actually need those rubber dampers anymore. And then we have a lock nut and a washer and another cone or spacer that's gonna go on the bottom. We'll do the same with this one. Now, if you guys want to see how to properly install these, I do have another video showing how to do that. But because this is a special application, we have to do a couple custom things here, I guess we'll say. There's usually an alignment piece that goes underneath that, and it doesn't fit in this application. So we just need to make sure that these clamps are nice and straight. I already tightened this one down, and I'm basically just going to use an old straight edge, and then I'll tighten these down to 24 foot-pounds. You come in and double check this. That one looks good, and that one looks good. They do have different compounds depending on how stiff you want the stabilizer to be. But in this case, we have to use yellow because it matches the bike. It actually is the compound that I want though. It's the softest one they make. Then we're gonna take our Tusk Chub bars, fit them in here, and they're mounted. They're done. And then for these inner clamps, it's really important that they're nice and tight. You can see how this one, everything is nice and tight, and this one has these gaps in here. You don't want that. So Hermosi does include this tool that you're supposed to clip in here, and that will put the pressure on these so that when you tighten it down, they're in the right spot. But as you can see, because this is a special application, that's not gonna work. So we're gonna have to do another little bit of a trick here. We've got 2 C clamps. And we're just gonna pull that clamp in. You can see it squeeze that rubber. All right, so I think we're gonna have to put clamps on this one too so it doesn't pull out. All right, they're both nice and tight. It would appear that we've hacked the system and we've made the Hermosi bar clamps fit on this three-wheeler. Put our Torque One racing grips on. These are literally the easiest grips to install. They're even easier than ODI because they've just got the one clamp on the inside. Man, I am definitely getting motorcycle vibes, almost mini bike vibes. If you look at this thing, it almost looks like there's supposed to be 1 wheel on the back and not 2. It looks really, really cool though. I'm a little bit worried. I'm wondering if this front tire is too small. So it's a 22-inch tall by 7 by 10, and you can see the size right there, 22 by 7 by 10, or by 12 actually. I kept it on the 12-inch rim. Really weird tire size, but I wanted to keep the 12-inch rim like OEM, and you can see right here, this is a Polaris part number. So it's a Maxxis tire, but this is actually made for, I think, a Polaris Hawkeye. I didn't want to get a 23 in the front because the availability of tires wasn't that great. The only thing I could find was like a CST Ambush, which isn't a bad tire. I just didn't like the way that it looked. And it just looks like it could be possibly small. I don't know. For the sand and stuff, it's probably not going to be the greatest because it's a little bit on the skinny side. It's 7 inches. So it should be okay. It won't be too bad. But again, the original tires were 25 by 8, so they were huge. I was trying to get away from the height of this thing because they're so tippy. I wanted the whole thing to be dropped. So I dropped it 3 inches in the front and 2 inches in the back from factory. So we'll see how it works. Let's keep moving along with the front end and get our front brake in place. This is a CRF 150R front brake caliper. It's a knockoff, but I've had good luck with the knockoffs. The one thing I do like to do though is swap the pads out with EBCs. So these are from Rocky Mountain ATV, the pads in there. So this should work just fine. And then I'll show you guys in here, this disc was from, I think, either Nice CNC or Niche, I forget. But I like the look of it because it kind of had like a retro look, but it was also drilled. So that should help with performance a little bit. And then on the inside here, this is from BBC Racing. The kit comes with a conversion kit so that you can run the CRF 150R brakes. And these are bolts that we definitely want to lock tight. And we're going to throw our sweet-ass yellow brake line on. These are universal stainless steel braided brake lines. I've had really good luck with them, and they're really cheap. I'll have the link in the description below. You can order them in custom lengths. And because of the color choices that they have, you can really add a nice touch to your machine. And while we're at it, let's put our brand new fork guards in place so that we can complete the look of the front end. And it looks like we're going to have to do a little bit of trimming up here because these fork guards are for the CRF 150R, so it's probably made for a taller wheel, and you can see right here it's going to hit the tire. So what we can do is trim this away. Pop this in the vise. Just snug that down. And then these mini saw blades are legit for cutting plastic. So I've got this marked right here. We're just going to go right in here and zip that out. I swear, it usually goes a lot faster than that. This Dremel is just really not powerful enough. Then I'll come in with one of these flapper drums, and this will clean that all up and make it nice and even. All right, I think it's about time we switched around to the back end. Let's get our carrier and axle in. All right, we've got our carrier. It's very similar to a Banshee, Blaster, or Warrior with these traditional Yamaha style chain adjusters. Kind of a pain in the ass. They're not the worst though. It's definitely helpful having all the hardware in place. All the washers and everything. I have no guesswork now. It does take a long time to do that ahead of time though. Basically just using schematics and part numbers to match up all the bolts with the correct holes. So for our axle, we've got a Tusk. This is for a Banshee, Raptor, or Blaster, and it should fit the Tri-Z also. So I'm putting some anti-seize on the contact areas. And I did put anti-seize on our splines as well. I may have to do some trial or error here because these somewhat universal axles have different spacers depending on what model. So Tri-Z isn't even listed as one of the compatible models, but I do believe that it will fit. But we may have to play around with the spacers just a little bit. Sure went in nicely. So now that that's set all the way, I'm going to measure how far out the axle sticks on each side. And that will tell me if we need to put an extra spacer in here. And if it's good, then we can just send it. It would be the difference of about 1/4 of an inch. We've got almost 16 exactly. And this one is about 16 and 1/8. That's enough that I think we're not even going to notice that 1/8 of an inch because this 1/4 inch spacer, bumping it that way would throw it out a whack even more. So I think we're good to go. So if you do have a Tri-Z, it looks like it gets set up the same way that a Banshee does. If you guys have ever dealt with these snap rings, they can be a serious pain in the ass getting them on. This slides over and then clips into the groove. And then when we spin this adjustable nut, it'll lock up against this nut right here. But the problem is, when you're trying to push this on, one, it's just really, really tight and it's hard to do. So if you don't have like a special pair of snap ring pliers or something that can spread this apart, it can really be a pain in the ass. And the other thing is, as you're pushing on it, the axle is going to want to slide through. So I'm going to try to come up with a way here to make it a little bit easier on ourselves. Another hack, if you will. I was going to possibly put a clamp on the brake and the swing arm, but I don't want to put unnecessary stress on this disc brake, especially because this is one of those weird like concave jobs for the Tri-Z. Super rare part. I couldn't even get a new brake, so I had to take the best one and have it vapor blasted, and then I coated it with heat paint. So, you know, this part will wear away once we hit the brakes, but I couldn't find those things new. Anyways, I think we'll be able to hold the axle by tying it to the swing arm. This doesn't have to be like super, super tight. We just don't want the damn thing moving. Okay, that should hold it. Now we're gonna take a pipe that has the same inner diameter, just about anyways, as the outer diameter of our axle. This one's 1 3/4 inches. And we'll take our ring here, slide it over the axle, and we should be able to press it right into place. It might take a little bit of force. I'm telling you, man, these things are not easy to get on. Oh, man, it's actually moving. I'm gonna tighten this down a little bit more. It's crazy how tight these things are. Maybe if we give it a little bit of shock. There we go, went right on. Not bad, not bad. That's good thinking, guys. It's always good finding little hacks like that with basic tools that you can find around the house. A pipe like that's really not that uncommon, and it doesn't need to be as long as the one that I had. But that's a job that's normally a pain in the ass that we made pretty easy. Plus the axle looks sweet. We'll put our fresh rear caliper in place. Check this thing out, man. This is the original caliper from 1985. The reason it looks brand spanking new is because I had it vapor blasted by Moto Blast. Put a brand new rebuild kit on here, and we've got brand new EBC pads from Rocky Mountain ATV. This thing is gonna look freaking awesome. Now we'll put our hubs in place, put our spacers on. We're gonna make this thing as wide as we can with this setup. And then we've got Banshee hubs. And the reason we're running Banshee hubs as opposed to the Tri-Z hubs is because this is a better bolt pattern. It's gonna open up the possibility for wheel and tire choice, which that's half the reason we could even choose the ones that we chose for this build, because the Tri-Z bolt pattern is kind of a little wacky. I think it's 4x100, whereas this is the standard, I think it's 4x115 is the Yamaha bolt pattern. And of course, we gotta throw the chain on. This is a standard O-ring chain from Tusk. You can pick these up at Rocky Mountain ATV. It's just a no-frills, affordable chain. Wow, look at that. Don't even have to cut it. You guys know I'm a sucker for a nice rear end, and this one is definitely no exception, man. Just look at that, dude. All of the little zinc accents, the black powder coating, the bronze powder coating, the red powder coating, the yellow brake line, the color of this chain with the blue and bronze, dark, dark, dark blue. It's like a steel blue color. It all just came together really, really nicely. I think that looks so sick. I also snuck on our Wicked Metal Designs grab bar so you guys can kind of get a better idea for that drop grab bar design. It really is. It's, in my opinion, the best design hand grab bar that you can get. I love these things, man. So what I want to put on now, though, is the gas tank, because the Tri-Z is really weird in that the gas tank actually goes under the seat in the back. So up here is actually where the airbox goes, and back here is for the fuel tank. So we'll go ahead and start working on that, and we'll take it from there. All right, let's see if we can get this in from the bottom. I may have made a mistake here putting this bracket in place. It looks like the tank will have to go in first and then the bracket. I think if we take these two bolts out in the front, we might be able to just hinge this back and then hinge it forward once the tank's in there. Perfect. Such a strange design, really, having the tank in the back. Yamaha claims to have done this to help with lowering the center of gravity. And also, by putting the tank in the back, it puts the air box way up here. So it literally says in their ad from back in the day in the 80s that it's to make it so that you can go through deeper water without taking in water, because the intake is so high up. So, I mean, it does make sense, but definitely a strange design, and I would say unsuccessful design, because I have not seen anybody else in the industry do the same thing. And it's just complex. It really is. And at the end of the day, a three-wheeler is going to be light in the front end regardless. So taking away the tank and the fuel from the front probably makes this thing extra rowdy, but extra good at doing wheelies. So that's a good thing, because I suck at wheelies, honestly. And yes, we are even torquing the fuel tank bolts. Honestly, there's pretty much no bolt that I don't torque on any project. There it is, man. You can see very, very strange design, but it is kind of cool with the gas cap like this. Press this button here and it pops open. That is pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie. A little excessive and odd, but it is cool. So if you look in the back here, you can see we've got more hookups. That is because there's actually like a skid plate kind of deal that goes under here, like a rock guard. I don't know what you'd call it. That's ready to go, but I can't put that on there just yet, because if you look under here, we've got barbs. There's another one right here. They will all be covered up by that rock guard. So, and then if you could look here, we've got two barbs right here. There's another barb up here. There's another one right here. Another one right here. And there's gonna be hoses running all over this damn thing. So I'm gonna have to look at the schematics to see where all the hoses and stuff went, because it is kind of confusing. But what's nice is that this Yamaha service manual has really nice cable routing diagrams. So you can see there's the handlebars. If you come in here, they show you how the wire harness and everything runs. Come over here to the side of the bike. They show you everything, even the rear brake line. They have all the electric stuff, the cables and whatnot. And I think there's even another page here. Yeah, see that? That's gonna help me out a ton. I've got the wire harness set out here. So this actually took quite a while to get it as nice as it is right now. So there were 3 wire harnesses that came with this, and out of the 3 of those, we made one nice one. So this is all brand new. This is a South Texas Banshee wire harness. He makes really nice wire harnesses. The wire sheathing is more heat resistant than OEM. He uses OEM style connectors, and he also uses a heavier gauge wire. So it's just a better wire harness, and it's pretty cheap. I think it was like 55 bucks shipped. I thought it didn't even make sense to try to salvage the old ones. Now the rest of this stuff is from the OEM wire harness. So we've got our coil pack right here. This is the CDI, the regulator, our tail light, and then this is the switch set. Believe it or not, I managed to, out of the ones that we had, there were 2 in the kit of 3 different Tri-Z's, and you can see how nice I got this one. I had to salvage different parts from each machine to put this together. I've refurbished the plastic, cleaned up all of the cables and whatnot, the connectors, everything looks really, really good. So we should be good to go with all the electrical components. The other thing I want to put on is the radiators. And once again, kind of a complex system going on here. We have like 10 different hoses for this system. I'm not really sure why Yamaha decided to go so complex with this thing. I don't know if it's because three-wheelers were just becoming a thing, and maybe they wanted to be like the cutting edge, the only guys doing the complex stuff. It has like a thermostat and stuff. I actually have the thermostat right here. We're going to be modifying this to have a temperature gauge. We're going to get to that in a moment as well. But cable and hose routing is a tedious process. It takes forever, and you guys will be totally bored. So I'm going to get you guys on a time lapse. I'm going to get this thing cabled and hosed up, and we'll take it from there. Man, this thing is literally the Hose Master 5000. Just have a look at this thing, dude. There are hoses everywhere. I mean, there's 4 hoses coming out of the freaking gas tank alone. They're just all over the place. So I'm actually waiting on yellow zip ties to come in the mail. So I will tidy this up a little bit more, but I just have everything in place running where it's supposed to run. You can see like the wires and stuff are hanging. So like all this stuff will get tied up against the frame and whatnot. But the radiator too, man, there's so many hoses on it. It's crazy. Then we have these 2 hoses up here that lead to a junction in the middle, which is something that I want to take care of in a moment here. You can see there's like an empty orifice. This is where the thermostat goes. And for such a simple machine, there's just so much stuff. I think mostly though, it's because of this gas tank being down low, so it needs the fuel pump and whatnot. I mean, if you look at this petcock, you've got the 2 fuel lines right there. And then if you come around the back, there are 2 more on the back. So there's 4 lines going to that. And then there's this junction right here that runs up to the tank up here. I mean, it's absolutely crazy, but I have to say, I'm getting an appreciation for the way that this thing looks. There's just some really cool components on it, and I think once it's all together, you know, with these translucent red lines and stuff, it's gonna look really good. And we have the body of that thermostat over here, so we're gonna be modifying that in just a moment. And then I've got our carburetors right here. This is the one that we're gonna be running. I just wanted to show you guys some changes that I made to make this work. I wanted to stop to take a minute to thank you for making it this far into the video. I also wanted to stop to thank the companies and sponsors that are helping to make this project possible. Both of these Tri-Z's came from Power Sports Nation. Power Sports Nation is the largest parts provider for ATVs and UTVs in the country. If you guys follow the channel, you've probably seen me name drop them quite a few times. Now, if you are looking for parts, I encourage you to go to the Power Sports Nation website. While they did provide the parts for this project, what they specialize in is utility ATVs and side-by-side parts. The search engine on their website works great, and it's consistently updated with the new machines and parts that they get into inventory. I'd also like to thank Bonehead Performance Coatings, BBC TRIKES, Rocket Ron Racing, Rocky Mountain ATV, Moto Blast, Hermosi, and Wicked Metal Designs. These are all companies I trust, and most of them I use on a regular basis. Links and promo codes will be listed in the description below. If you're enjoying the video so far and looking for a way to help out, giving the video a thumbs up, leaving a comment below, or subscribing to the channel all help out a ton. Products and tools in the video are listed in the description below, and purchasing from those links does help me out a lot. I get a small kickback from that, and there's no extra cost to you. And if you're looking to support the channel even further, there is the option to join. All channel members get guaranteed responses to their YouTube comments. All right, guys, I am done talking. Let's get back to the video. So both of these carburetors are 38mm Rakunis. They're flat sides. Now, I am doing the wrench report. That is right here. This is basically a report that came out probably shortly after the Tri-Z came out in 1985 from Yamaha, where they showed you a number of things to do to improve the performance of the machine. Now, they recommended a YZ250K or L model carb, which I believe those are round body carbs, and these are flat sides. So I'm doing a slight variation from what they're suggesting to do in that. But anyways, I'm going to be running this 38, and as you noticed, probably, this inlet right here is totally custom. So if you look at this one, this is like a regular carburetor, but that would not fit what we needed. So there's a boot right here. This is one of the OEM boots that goes to the intake duct, and it would not fit on the regular 38. I mean, you could probably heat this up and stretch it on there, but I felt like that was like kind of a half-ass way of going about it. So I sent this off to Dave Moore Racing, and he made this custom, I think you would call this a Spidget. I'm not really sure, but anyways, now check this out. It fits on there perfectly. So we'll be putting a filter on top right here. You'll see why. It makes it fit in there really nicely. And on this side too, he shaved this down a little bit. If you look at this one, you can see it's much, much larger. Let me flip this around here. It's pretty considerable how much he shaved off of there. And that made it so that I could fit it right into that red UPP boot on the engine side. Now, beyond the carburetor, we're running a different slide and a different needle. If you put these two right next to each other, you can see this needle is quite a bit shorter. This one's a little bit longer. And also the slides are a little bit different. If you look at these little cutouts, you can see that this cutout is smaller and this one is larger. So this is the one I'm gonna be using over here. I'm not gonna get into the specifics of why I chose this slide and the needle, but I am making some custom changes so that to make this work really nice. And the other thing I did is this is the factory spring that comes in those Mikunis, and man, it is tight. You're gonna get throttle thumb real bad. So this is a real lightweight spring. I put this in almost all my carburetors. These will fit Mikunis or Kians. So I swapped that out. That should give really nice throttle action, and hopefully this thing will perform well. This thing will pop right in place. I thought that I had red carb lines, but I guess I used them on something else. So we're just gonna run the pink ones for now. We'll put our throttle in place too. This is an Hermosi. You can see it's got a little ball bearing or a needle bearing in there. It actually has 2 bearings, one in the top and one in the bottom. I've already gone ahead and greased those. If you're not familiar with these, I do have videos with a more in-depth description of them. They're pretty much, I would say, the best thumb throttle on the market. It's just like a really premium feel, and it's adjustable also. Just kind of getting everything in place right now. And then once the machine's on the ground and we can sit on it, We'll adjust everything to where it's nice and comfortable. Shit. Well, we've got a problem here. Because of all this mix matching that we're doing, we have a piece here that doesn't fit. So this is a throttle cable from a Quadzilla, actually. I had to do, like I said, a whole bunch of because we're doing custom stuff, like that just happens. Now, these are mostly thumb throttles. You can order an adapter, and it will make just about any throttle cable work, but to be honest, I don't feel like waiting. So I found this piece right here. I think this is from a clutch lever, and it threads in here perfectly, and it's slotted already. So all we have to do is cut a slot in the old adapter that came on this cable, and then this other one should slip right over, and then it should fit. Now this is one of those things that I really love about this Tusk stand, is that it's basically mobile. So I could take that throttle cable off, but why do that when I have a rolling stand? And the reason that I'm even doing that is because I want to put the clamp that we're taking off in the vise, because we're going to have a lot more control if we don't have to physically hold it. And I don't want to damage the throttle cable, so we're going to do our best here. Now, this could be a stupid idea, and it probably is, but I think we can pull it off. All right, I think we're through. Boom. Perfect, and no damage either. All right, check it out. Pops on there, no problem. It's got a little bit of play though, so I made a small spacer right here. I think it was like an old dowel pin or something, but I drilled it out so that it fits over there perfect. And now it's nice and tight tolerances. Throw down a jam nut. I do a little bit of adjustment down here at the carb. Fine tune it up here. That's money. Now I can throw the cover on and our throttle is good to go. Easy fix, man. No problem for us. Man, this setup is looking really, really nice. And check this out. On that thumb throttle, you've got these little set screws. You can loosen those up and adjust this up or down. And on the fly, you can adjust this forward or back in 3 different locations. So depending whether you're sitting on or standing on the bike, you can get it in a nice, comfortable spot. Plus that satisfying sound. Nice. I am getting to that point though where I'm about to throw a wrench through the wall. So I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna eat. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Well, I just had a huge spicy chicken sandwich, a slice of pizza, large order of fries, 12 wings, and a giant soda. And I feel a lot better now. But as you guys can see, there's a couple more things that I want to get done here. It's late tonight, but I want to do this stuff before we hit the sack, and I'm going to show you why. So we've got our DG exhaust right here. I'd like to get this on because we have to use some gasket maker, so I want that to dry overnight. And then we have that thermostat that I was talking about earlier and our little temperature gauge, and I'm going to be using the ever professional JB Weld on it. So I want that to be able to cure overnight so that hopefully tomorrow we could have a shot at giving this thing a first start attempt. So for our exhaust, you might notice there is a shim in here. So I took a piece of, it's almost exactly 1 millimeter stainless steel, and I cut it a little bit short. You guys might be able to see there's like a gap up here, but that's okay. Putting that in there made it fit on the exhaust port or the exhaust outlet like perfectly. And we're going to be putting RTV on this anyway, so we'll be able to fill that little gap. The big thing, I just didn't want this jingling around on there and having the springs be the only thing to hold it in place. So, but we do want to put RTV in there because exhaust leaks are no good on a 2-stroke. Well, anything really, but a 2-stroke especially. I really do hate working with red RTV. I feel like it just always ends up all over the place. You know, you use Yamabond or any other RTV and it just doesn't seem to get all over the way that red RTV does. I don't know why that is. It's definitely earned itself a special spot in hell right next to anti-seize. I got it in there nice and good. And I even put some on the exhaust flange because I do not want this thing leaking at all. Apparently, this is a problem spot on these TRIKES, specifically with the DG pipes. Not sure why, but it was difficult finding. There's like no exhaust gaskets for these, and I looked on the three-wheeler forum, Three-Wheeler World, and apparently they were making an aftermarket one for a while. I tried ordering one like 2 months ago, and I still haven't gotten a tracking number, so I don't think that's ever coming. And then I'm using a billet exhaust clamp for a Banshee. These things are awesome because they're completely customizable, and you can usually make it work for any exhaust no matter what's going on. So we have to hook up right to here. We've got to bridge this gap. I'm using nylock nuts on all of my exhaust stuff so that it doesn't vibrate loose. I'll tighten that down once the silencer's on. You guys remember that silencer that had the dirt dauber or whatever you guys called it in there? It was like dirt and a larvae stuck in here, man. This thing was freaking decrepit. What the heck is that? This is the same one. Got the sticker off there and everything. This was vapor blasted by Moto Blast. Looks like a brand new silencer. It's kind of cool that it doesn't say DG on there, so it's like, who knows what brand it is. Kind of cool. Put this thing in place, and we're like not even close to any mounting points. I think I'm gonna have to drill a hole here in the grab bar. There's just like nothing even remotely close. There's these two down here, but they're too far away. So this is a really beefy grab bar from Wicked Metal Designs. I think I'm just gonna drill and mount straight to the grab bar like that. While we're at it, we're going to upgrade this silencer so that it can take one of these vibration dampers. We'll just have to open up this hole a little bit, and that should help quiet down the vibrations, because I think the TRIKES is not known for being a vibration-free machine. Snap this bad boy in place. Got our favorite red compound on the silencer as well. Slide this in place. And then last thing for our exhaust, slide our junction over. These things are awesome for sealing your exhaust, and they just give it like a nice clean look too. They're really cheap. You can get them on Amazon. It's like 11 bucks for 2 of them. Now, the other thing I wanted to do tonight was take our thermostat housing and put a temperature gauge in it. So typically there's an automotive style thermostat that goes in here. Apparently you can run just fine without that. It just helps with warming the engine up, but we don't actually need it, and they were really expensive. It was like $60 for the thermostat. But anyways, instead of running that thermostat, what I want to do is put this temperature gauge on here, but still kind of keep the factory look. But it goes right up in here like this. So what I want to do is take this temperature gauge, and I'm going to drill it in and JB weld it so that it's right here. I think we've got plenty of space right here to drill that out, and we'll have this sitting like so. It'll be right there in our coolant, so we'll be able to see what temperature we have. The only problem is this needs a 3/8 NPT thread tap. So NPT is National Pipe Thread, and I don't think I have that tap. So I'm going to have to order that before I can drill and tap this, and then I'm just going to put JB weld on there to reinforce it, because we're kind of tapping in a thin piece of aluminum here. We don't need to have coolant to do a test start though, so we'll still be able to start it tomorrow. But in the spirit of getting shit done before we go to bed, we can put our gas tank rock guard on. Man, this thing is like really snug up on there. It has like rubber bumpers and stuff. I guess it just pushes right up against that tank. There's like no space in there. That other bolt go? Come on, man, where the f is it? This isn't funny. It is beyond bedtime. The f is it? Where the f is the other bolt? God damn, I just f***ing had it in my hands. Would you kick it or some shit? Gotcha, you stupid bastard. Come on, dude, really? Let's just f***ing please work. I really don't have time for this shit. Bitch. One last, final thing. We must put the wheels on. All right, man. I'm going to bed. Man, this thing has got an absolute dump truck of a rear end. And then it's got this skinny little tire up here. I've already decided that we've got to switch out that front tire. It's just too small, man. Compared to the tires in the back, I just don't think it looks right. It looks very small. So I think what I'll do with that is a 22 by 7 by 12. I think I'm gonna bump it up just a little bit to a 23 by 8 by 12. I think having the width will really change the appearance of it. And I think it'll be better for the sand too, and just staying on top of loose dirt and things like that. It looks really cool though, man, just the way that it sits. But I think we might actually have to narrow up the back end here. To put it into perspective, I'll throw the back plastics in place, and that really kind of shows you just how crazy wide this thing is. I mean, we're literally entirely outside of the fenders on both sides. I mean, I don't know. I don't know, man. Just sitting on this thing, this feels really dangerous. It really does. So I don't know, like maybe we should keep this width back here for safety purposes, because after all, three-wheelers are made for safety. We'll worry about safety later though, you know, when we're going like 70 miles an hour on the dunes. But most importantly though, we do need to get oil in this machine. So the oil fill hole is so small, I don't even think we can use one of the Tusk disposable funnels, which I really like those, just, you know, no fuss, no muss. But we're gonna have to use a microscopic one here. It'll probably take like 10 years to fill this damn thing up. We're gonna be using Maxima MTL. This is from Rocky Mountain ATV. I haven't tried this yet. I like to try different oils and stuff, but Maxima's a good name. So we should be good to go. And it should take this whole quart. In the service manual, it says 1.05 liters, and this is 1 liter. So we should be pretty much on the money just dumping this whole thing in here. And I am checking under the engine as I'm pouring this, because I may or may not have left the drain plug off on another occasion. And while I was filling the engine, I was simultaneously just, you know, filling the floor with oil. It happens, all right? Well, scary enough. Oh my God, I almost forgot to take the paper towel out of here. I had this in here after I washed the gas tank just to absorb all the moisture and whatnot. So I'm running 28 to 1 with 110 octane, and I'm praying to God that we don't have any leaks, because there's so many little hoses and stuff. I'm gonna give it a quick check. I don't see any drips yet, but they could accumulate. I don't know how this fuel system really works. I've got it on reserve, and we'll put our fuel on, but I'm assuming it has to like, oh, I actually see fuel coming up the line, but I just imagine that it has to be primed. So I'll kick it over slow a couple times maybe. We should do that anyways, just to get the oil and stuff in there. I don't know if you guys will be able to see the gas moving or not, but our carb is totally dry. So, I mean, we have to fill the bowl. Yeah, I think it's taking in fuel. Oh, yeah, I just saw the fuel come up through here. I see bubbles, but I don't see it in the main fuel line yet. So I'll probably just keep kicking this over until the main line fills up with fuel. Oh, I see it. I see fuel coming in. So the fuel pump's working. But I want to make sure we got plenty of fuel in that bowl before we really start kicking it. I have the kill stop on right now so that it won't try to start. There seems to be some kind of suction going on because I keep seeing bubbles coming through here as I'm kicking it. But I want this main fuel line down here. I think that should at least have fuel in it before we kick it. I have seen the fuel running through there, but I don't think our bowl has enough fuel just yet. I think what I'm gonna do is give this thing a shot of fuel. This is just filled with the same fuel that I have in here. And if I can get this thing to kick over, then probably the fuel pump will get started. No problem. We'll see if that gets it to spark. I don't even know if this thing would start if it had fuel in it, so. All right, let's see. Whoa! Weird sound to it. Could we call that a first kick start? I think the very first kick after we sprayed that fluid into the carburetor, it actually kicked over. That's awesome, dude. You know, besides the whole fuel pump deal, this is one of the easiest first starts I've ever had. Man, that is awesome. I think it sounds really good. I could hear some of the internals, and again, you know, I've never actually ran or heard a Tri-Z before, so sometimes engines just make weird sounds. It wasn't like a concerning sound. It sounded like some sort of gear thing, or maybe that could just be like a break-in thing. I don't know. But we definitely need to put coolant in there before we run it any further. We don't want to burn this thing up. Man, it really looks awesome. Not that I wasn't excited before, but now that I heard this thing running, I am super excited, man. Let's finish this thing up. Now, you remember that thermostat housing that we needed to drill out? I did get my NPT tap and drill in the mail. So we're gonna go ahead and drill this out. I think that the drill press is the right move here because we're kind of dealing with like a rounded object that we're drilling into, and that can be kind of dicey when you're doing it by hand. It's just gonna be safer to do it in the drill press. I already have it marked off and punched where I want it to go, and we're just gonna slowly step the drill bits up and take our time. I do have an extra one of these housings just in case this ends up being a terrible idea, which it probably is. There's no going back now. And this is a 37/64 drill bit. This came with the tap. All right, phase one is complete. Success. Now I had actually wanted to tap this in the drill press so that it would be perfectly straight up and down. There's a lot less chance of screwing this up, but this tap is actually too big for the chuck in the drill press. So I'm gonna go ahead and be even stupider and tap this by hand, but I've got a pretty steady hand. I think I can do this. Once it gets started, it's game over. Well, that worked out a lot better than I thought it would. Thought we might have some problems. There it is, and this is actually so solid. I wouldn't be surprised if we put some Teflon on here. This would never give us an issue. I don't think JB Weld is actually necessary. So I'm gonna use some Yamabond 6B, or actually Yamabond 4, because it's gray. But if we put this in here and put that in place, that's what it's gonna look like. It's pretty much out of the way. You know, it's not too close to the spark plug. This is a congested area no matter what we do, but that's going to be really visible. Even with the side panel on, I checked, you can still see in there and see the temperature, so I think that's a solid modification. Damn mess. Nothing's ever easy, man, I swear. Shit's getting all over the place. Also in the mail, I got my yellow zip ties, so I'm gonna go ahead and tidy up all these hoses and wires because they look like absolute garbage right now. And I did get this new tool. I saw it in the suggestion feed and I just couldn't resist it. Let's test it out real quick. This is supposed to be like an automatic zip tie tensioner. So we'll put that on like that. I've not used this yet, so this is a first time for me and you experience. I see. Put it in like that. And you can tighten it down. And then, oh, damn. It cuts it really nice too. That's pretty cool. You can see how this works. It grabs the zip tie, pulls, and then on this side it's like a guillotine kind of deal where it just slices it off. It's actually a pretty sweet tool. It's like 12 bucks, 15 bucks, something like that. I'll have it linked in the description below. Man, we are honing in on the finish line here. Beyond putting the plastics on, there's really not that much more to do. I do want to put our headlight fixture on though. This piece, I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of. I did not do any of this on camera, and I kind of regret that a little bit. I don't even have before shots of this thing, but you can see I have it converted to LEDs. That was my original plan. I wanted to do a resto mod, but I still wanted it to have the original look. You guys have to let me know in the comments section below how you think I did. You can see the lights didn't quite fit in the housing perfectly, so I filled it in with weather stripping. And then, of course, I restored the plastic, got a brand new warning indicator for overheating, and brand new bushings and everything. Really just an awesome piece. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. If you look really closely at the top, you can see where the sticker was originally. I don't know if you guys remember, but the way that it was, I thought, because it was spray painted and stuff when I got it, I thought that the sticker was actually underneath and they painted right over it. But I think that's a result of just years of plastic fading and wearing away, because I did a ton of wet sanding on this and I couldn't get that Tri-Z to go away. When we put the new decal on top, you won't really be able to see it. But just overall, this just came out awesome. Oh man, now it's starting to look like a Tri-Z. Now believe me, I'm itching to put the rest of the fenders on too, but we do have to put our air filter in place. So we've got this K&N air filter right here. This is not easy to come by, man. This was new old stock. You can even see on the box, the date says it was made in 2006. So I ended up paying like 85 bucks for this damn thing. It came from, I think it came from Germany. So it's a discontinued part number, but you'll see it fits perfectly. It's exactly what they mentioned in the Yamaha wrench report for a clamp-on style filter. Brand new, man. You can smell the early 2000s. Nah, just kidding. It smells like a regular K&N, but this was a size that I guess is just really uncommon, and they don't really make them. So this will go right in here, like so. There's a little turn up right here, a little 90-degree bend. This is an OEM part that typically goes in here, and then there's a duct that will run up here, and the airbox would go up here, but we're not running the airbox for this setup, so it's pretty straightforward. This will literally, it fits over top of this filter. Straighten that out, and you can see it's like the perfect little filter. Got this baby all oiled up, and it should just pop right into place. Man, that's a pretty clean design. I can see why they chose this filter for the modification. It fits in there really, really nice. Plus, that should bring in air way better than the restrictive OEM system, because you would have a funnel, that tube that comes all the way up here and then goes to an airbox, and there's like a tiny duct in the front that goes up and in, and all that length and the bends and stuff would be super restrictive. And we don't want to forget to put our coolant in. I'm using engine ice. You can get this stuff at Rocky Mountain ATV. You know, we're not out of the woods yet. It is possible that we've got a leaking head gasket and we just filled the cylinder up with antifreeze. Hopefully not. Oh man, you know we're getting close when we get the front fender on. I think this is really gonna bring the look together. This thing kind of looks weird without the fenders on it. Man, I could smell victory, and then this happened. The plastics don't fit down, they hit on this K&N filter. But in all fairness, it does say in the wrench report that a portion of the rear plastics have to be cut out. So I'm just gonna chop that section out, and it really isn't a big deal at all. I'm just so excited to get this damn thing together and get the graphics on there and see what it looks like though. You know, as a kid, I don't think I ever dreamt of having a Tri-Z, but if I knew one like this existed, I probably would have. This thing looks absolutely badass. It is definitely the banana at this point. The plastics pop really good. So in the front are the DC plastics. This is DC plastics, this is DC plastics, and this is Meyer. You can actually see the sticker back here. That is gonna be coming off. Sorry, Meyer. But anyways, the Meyer plastics are actually the nicer of the bunch. You can see they're super shiny. These DC plastics were not this shiny. I actually spent a really good amount of time wet sanding and buffing these to get a nice shine on them. When they come, they are nice, but they're definitely not as nice as Meyer. Now, I'm not bashing the company because they're very transparent with what you're gonna get when you order their plastics. It says that they're not going to have a brilliant shine like they're coming from the factory, and they're very affordable. The price point is excellent on them. So just so that you guys are aware if you do buy them. And then also these vents back here, I had to cut those vents in there. So I spent a good amount of time, especially on that front fender, but they do look really, really good. The color is just slightly off. You can see the color of the frame is a little bit darker. The Meyer plastics are a little bit closer to the OEM color. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you may notice this cable back here, the brake cable is red. It was yellow before. That's because I had to switch this out. It was actually a faulty cable. It was leaking in between the junctions. So when I was bleeding it, it was like squirting out of the cover here. This is another Chinese one though, and that one is good. And the front one was good as well. So I guess it's hit or miss with those things, but 9 times out of 10, I mean, I've done more than 10 of them. That's the first one that I've had gone bad, but just letting you guys know. So all that's left to do is put our retro style graphics on. I love the way these things came out, man. If you look in the background, I got my logo ghosted back there. I designed these and I send them to 725 Designs, and my buddy Todd prints them out. They're gonna look really, really good. I've got all the companies that helped out. Got Rocket Ron for the suspension, the fork guards. On our forks, we're gonna put Power Sports Nation. These are the OEM graphics, and believe it or not, we're gonna put these ugly ass warning decals and stuff on. I want this to be, like I said, it's supposed to be a resto mod. I think it'll be really cool. This is a kit I found on eBay. It has all the original stickers. It even has the one for the shock and a couple other ones. I already put them on though, but that's gonna look really, really good. Before I put them on, I wanted to show you guys under the seat. I thought this was really cool. So this is where the airbox would typically be, but because it's not, we've got a ton of space in here. I'm not gonna do it in this video, but I could probably build a storage container and put something in there. You could put like 3 or 4 water bottles in there, a toolkit, straps, all kinds of shit, man. You guys may also have noticed that the back wheels are a little bit tighter. I did take the spacers out, but don't worry, it's still much wider than stock. Man, we are way, way rich. Look at this thing smoking. Holy crap. I actually dropped the jets down too. So we started with a 350 and a 50 Pilot, and we are now at a 47.5 Pilot and a 330 main, but clearly it needs to go down quite a bit. It starts really easy, but you can hear it's rich too. Right now we are at 165, 170. I don't know if you guys can see the gauge in there, but seems to be running really good. Now, of course, we're gonna have to jet it down. That's okay though. The purpose of a test ride is really to make sure like the transmission works, the clutch works and stuff. We'll just make sure that it runs through all the gears, and we'll be in a separate video. We'll do jetting and we'll give this thing a good rip. We want to make sure the brakes work too, especially on this thing, especially that rear brake. The clutch is really tight. It does have heavy duty springs, so it could just be a symptom of that. Here we go, dude. Try Z. First ride. Ooh, baby, nice and smooth. Oh, dude. Oh man, it sounds a lot better when you're actually riding it. Oh man. Now I have one heat cycle on this. Oh man, this is so weird turning. I am not used to three-wheelers. Oh yeah, man, this thing is a death trap. It looks like our shifter needs to be adjusted up a little bit. It's definitely a little rich, for sure. Dude. This is really really fast, man. I can tell that this thing has got some balls. Oh, yeah. Dude. It's a little tough to shift. I don't know if you guys can see how low the shifter is. I'm gonna have to adjust that up a little bit. All right, let's just take it down the street and we'll make sure that it gets into, this is a 5-speed. We wanna hit all 5 gears. Oh, dude, does that sound good? It turns really tight too. This is cool, dude. All right, here we go. Dude, I think the shifter's actually like slipping. We might have to go back and fix that. Slight delay. We gotta fix this real quick. Yeah, you can see this shifter. Every time I'm shifting down, oh yeah, it's loose. Okay, let me fix that real quick. So if you guys watched the engine build video, I actually mentioned in it that the shift shaft is in kind of poor condition, and so is the shifter. But the thing is, you can't get these shifters, and any used ones, there's a used one on eBay right now, new old stock, they want $200 for a stock shifter. I'm not paying that, but not only is the shifter, are the splines a little bit worn, but the shaft, and I've got a brand new Yamaha OEM shaft. It was $35. I just couldn't get it here in time for the video. So we're not gonna switch that out right now. I'm gonna see if I can get this shifter to tighten down just so that we can do the rest of our test ride. But definitely, this needs to be replaced. I do not want this happening out at the dunes. Oh, dude, it broke. The shifter actually broke. Whoa. Yeah, man, that thing was really on its last legs. You can see it's split at the top. So it wasn't even the splines. I think just from being so worn down, it was probably thin there. I do not want to cut this test drive short, but we may have to. Without a shifter, how the hell are we going to test the gears? Let me check and see what I have, if there's a shifter that I can make work on there temporarily. Otherwise, we may be beat. Dude, it's like it was meant to be. This is a Blingstar shifter that I had ordered. You can see it says Blingstar on this. This is like actually a pretty rare shifter, but I ordered that for the ASPCA Raptor, and it turns out it's a +1. It was too long for that, but it's like it was meant to be, dude. Look at the sizes here. It's like damn near identical. As long as it clears the stator cover, we should be able to run it. Dude, it's close, but I think we're good, man. That is money. Now, can I get the damn screw in, though? Shit, maybe out of luck. Damn, boys. I thought we had it. Dude, I'm bummed. I really am. I was just starting to get the giggles, man. I feel like this is definitely the type of machine, because you got to remember, I have pretty much no three-wheeler experience, but I could already was starting to get a little bit more comfortable on it. This is definitely the type of machine that you take it out, ride it for a couple hours, and then you start to, you know, want to ride a lot faster on it. I'm just so bummed, dude. Like, what the heck? I really should have known from analyzing the splines before. I should have never even run this, but in the interest of time with these projects, that's something that a lot of guys don't understand, is that I have to keep things moving forward. So when it comes to ordering parts and stuff, especially with the building process, it stops everything. So sometimes I just run stuff, but usually not. It's typically not something I do. So I will, the right thing to do, you know, I have that shifter on there, and it's the right size, but the bolt, the pinch bolt, does not go through. So it does, you can shift it if you go very gentle, but you know what's gonna wind up happening is we're gonna ruin that Raptor shifter. So I don't wanna do that. The right thing to do is either cut off the end of this original shifter and then weld on new splines from like a Banshee shifter or something. Or I'll see if maybe I can find another used one, but running it is just, you know, we got to ride it today and stuff. There's no way about it, man. I'm pissed. I'm pissed that I want to ride this more. There is one other thing we can test though, since it's dark out now. We can see if our headlights work. Now there's a million freaking outside lights on here, but we should still be able to see if they work or not at least. like really bright, even at idle. They don't flicker the way that they're flickering in the camera. I mean, in person, you can't really see it. But that's actually really a lot better than I thought it would be. I would say that's a win. I think it's like a computer screen kind of deal. If you've ever tried to record your computer screen, there's like bars on the monitor and it flickers and stuff. So I'll fix the shifter issue, and I think I'm gonna order a bigger tire as well. That front tire it just looks a little bit too small. So I'm either gonna get a 23 or a 24. The one on there is a 22. And I think it'll just look a little bit more like natural, if that makes any sense. But you know, there's always gonna be little odds and ends that I have to do. I've gotta play with the brakes a little bit, do some more bleeding, and just adjust my levers and go over everything. Sometimes, you know, think something needs to be tightened here, something needs to be tweaked here. That's just kind of the name of the game with any build. They usually don't just go together and you don't have to mess with anything. You know, usually a shifter doesn't snap off. I think that's the first time I've ever had that happen, but you know, otherwise, I think we're doing pretty good. So I'd like to get this to a sand pit, do a little bit of ripping on it, dial in the jetting and whatnot. If I don't have a video doing that, I will be taking this to Little Sahara Sand Dunes in Oklahoma. That's the end of this month. It's September 2023. I'll be there the 29th and the 30th. That is Friday and Saturday. I'll have this Tri-Z with me, and I will also have the 250R with me. So I gotta get cracking on that build as well. I'll have them both there. Come out, say hi if you see me. Don't be afraid to come up and check out the machines and shoot the shit with me, man. It should be a pretty awesome trip. So we took 3 Tri-Z's that hadn't been run in probably 20 plus years and turned it into one freaking awesome resto mod machine. I'm really proud of this. I think you guys did a great job. I think this is an awesome machine. I may actually be a 3-wheeler guy now. I don't know. It's crazy, you know. I'm telling you, man, it was super fun riding this thing. And with that, I'm gonna wrap up the Tri-Z series. If you enjoyed this video and the series in general, please give me a thumbs up. That helps out tremendously. And please consider subscribing for more content like this. I'm gonna close out reading a message that I received from a new subscriber. It's from Greg. I apologize if I butcher your name. Greg Coolbog. He says, hey Mike, I just want to tell you I love your videos, man. I'm fairly new to your channel and really enjoy the content that you put out. I love the funny intros, all the information you give as you rebuild these machines, and just all the content in general. Did I hear you say you live in Pennsylvania? I live in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. Would love to get together and ride sometime. I've got some fun places in the area, and I certainly know what it's like to live in a neighborhood and constantly wonder if someone's going to call the cops, LOL. That's real life problems, man. Anyway, just wanted to say hello, and I appreciate your videos, and I really look forward to seeing more Top Quad. Thank you for all you do and for the effort you put into your videos. Sincerely, Greg Coolbog. Thanks, Greg, for subscribing. I appreciate that, man. Guys, I get tons of emails, messages, DMs, just like this, man, like hundreds of them. So I wish I could get to all of them, but they all mean so much to me. So thank you to everybody that supports. Greg, thanks for subscribing. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.